Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 20th Annual Buffalo Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame celebration. I'm Jack Horaho, your announcer for tonight's program. This evening, we induct a distinguished class of broadcasters into our Hall of Fame. They have all made their mark on our industry and helped make Western New York the great media market it is. Tonight's inductees include longtime 97 Rock personality Larry Norton, former WKBW head of operations Steve Zappia, retired Buffalo State College communications professor and veteran radio broadcaster Tom Donahue, HGTV producer and director and former Buffalo radio and TV personality Susan Hunt, former host of Channel 7's Dialing for Dollars, the late Nolan Johannes, and veteran Western New York weatherman Don Paul. Tonight's Master of Ceremonies is BBA Hall of Famer and WBBZ Director of Promotion and Production and host of Bragging Rights, John DeShulo, accompanied by Mr. Jingle himself, Kenny Kaufman. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Channel 17 studios in downtown Buffalo, John DeShulo.
My, oh my. Thank you very much, the elegant Jack Horaho, for that beautiful introduction. What an honor to be here tonight in front of the Buffalo broadcasters and for the 20th anniversary celebration. Quite an honor for me, coming here from Philadelphia some 35 years ago and now sharing a moment with one of the inductees who helped make that happen. And so I want to welcome you. It's the biggest night of the year for Buffalo media. It is great to be on stage here at the WBBZ-TV studio. The place looks great, doesn't it? Look at this. We should have a party here a lot. We should get together here a lot. And of course, I'm sharing the stage with the most listened to composer in Western New York, legendary musician and jingle king, which you welcome, Ken Kaufman. Now, Kenny, we know you really from a lot of your commercial work. You're a great musician, but in case the audience doesn't know, and I can't imagine who doesn't, enlighten us.
Well, let's see. How about this one? Remember?
I think the audience would remember, and that's Tops Never Stop. Wegmans. Was that? Who was that? That was Don Paul.
Security.
Yeah.
Please.
Don's starting already, Kenny. Yeah. Oh my! And you know that piano that you're playing tonight. There's an interesting story about that.
It's true. This is an irreplaceable, one-of-a-kind piano that was provided by Illos Piano Restorations, as you can see by those of you who can read the sign on the front. This very piano was owned and played by none other than Mitch Miller.
Ooh.
Yes, it was in his apartment, and it was restored, brought back to life by Illos Restorations.
Well, it's great, and you know we've cleaned up a lot now since last year we were doing this, and we've been asked back, which is a terrific honor. Yeah. And we have our tuxes on, and you know we also want to mention that when you go to the Sabres game, there's another famous piece of music that you hear. That's Kenny Kaufman. So the next time you're at a Sabres game, hey, there's Kenny. But I'm also here with another great announcer. This is sort of like a Johnny, Ed, and Doc kind of situation. The great, listen to this voice for Jack Horaho.
Thank you very much.
Oh, look at that. We're going to hear more from Jack in just a little bit, get a little background and catch up with him. We want to acknowledge the Buffalo Dolls. You heard them earlier here on stage. They did a great job. Donna Kerr, Rusty Draws, Debbie Maybach, and of course, we have tonight our student assistant who's going to help give out the awards. Here, come on up. You need to get a close-up. Nyasia Wilson. She looks spectacular. All right, so we're up here. We're going to get started. So it's time to bring up Heidi Raphael, the president of the Buffalo Broadcasters Association and senior vice president of corporate communications of Greater Media, to make a few remarks to get the evening going. Heidi, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We are so grateful and honored to have you here as we induct another incredible class into the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame. It was 20 years ago this year that the broadcast pioneers had the vision to form what is known today as the BBA, and we are so grateful to them for that. We've had a great year, from our roaring 20th anniversary celebration to a brand new mentoring program that we started this year with area high schools and colleges. We're on the right track. We're doing great things, and we're really grooming and nurturing tomorrow's broadcasters, thanks to your help. And I want to thank everybody in the audience that has served as a mentor. We've had a great response. We really appreciate it. I'd also like to thank Tracy LeBlanc, our outstanding chair for this year, and our great committee for putting this event on this evening. And the fabulous team at WNED. They have been partners with us for a long time. And I'd like to thank David Rotterman and Phil and Tammy and the great gang here at WNED. They do great work, and they really are a benchmark for the country. Our BBA board members are here this evening. They donate countless hours over the course of the year to do different events for us and for all of you. I'd like to ask them to take a moment to stand and be recognized in the audience. They really are fantastic. I'd also like to recognize Joni Boersma and the terrific staff at the Family Help Center, where we have our archive stored. It's a great facility, and they have been a true partner to us in making sure that our archive is kept safe. We do a lot with that, and as you all know, I mean, we have a lot of wonderful memorabilia, which we hope to, in the future, include in the museum that the museum project is working on, headed up by Dave Gillen, our chairman. The one thing I would like to do, I would also like to recognize Katie Joyce. She is the new executive director at the Family Help Center, and we really appreciate her. She just started, and she's already jumped in both feet, so she's fabulous. As I prepare to conclude the second of my 2-year commitment as president, I just want to say thank you to all of you. You've all been great, and it's been a really a great experience. I look forward to helping the next president and the board as we move forward. I'd also like to thank Leah DeCenzo, who helped me quite a bit with the program ads. She did a great job, and as you can see from the program book that Bobby Gantz from 3G Graphics put together, it's fantastic. So to everyone that was involved, I say thank you, and again, congratulations to all our inductees, and sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks.
Heidi, come here for a second. Heidi, come back. We should, yes, hail to the chief is very appropriate. Did you know, come on up, Heidi, just because I think that the crowd should know, Heidi was voted as one of the top 50 women in radio executives. So congratulations for that national honor. Well deserved. And thank you, Heidi. Heidi has done so much here with the BBA because, taking an organization like this, you have, newcomers that are here in the field. I see some of the new reporters and new photographers that are at some of the stations. And I think it's great because what Heidi's done is brought some of the newcomers together with respect for the local legends, so to speak, who have been here. Under your leadership, BBA has connected with hometown organizations through BBA Cares. This year, adopting the Diversified Labor Solutions Division of the Candlestian Center. We've adopted them for their program because they provide employment opportunities to people with disabilities and others who are at risk. So we would like to welcome Ann Spiesiak, Executive Director of the Candlestian Center, and Ashley Herzl, who's the Marketing and Special Events Coordinator, who used to be here at WBFO. So if you're here in the room, stand up. We'll acknowledge you. From the Candlestian Center. So thank you very much for the hard work that you do. And with more on that, let's take a look at the mission with a video produced by board member Jim Safe.
We've been with them for some time now. Their workers are good people, hard workers, and always on time. Diversified Labor Solutions works for us.
Diversified Labor Solutions provides contract services to local area businesses. We can provide the necessary labor for all kinds of tasks, from packaging and light assembly to production personnel at your business. Diversified Labor Solutions works for us. To see how we can work for you, call Diversified Labor Solutions at 710-5460.
All right, so good luck with the work that you do. And in addition to the folks here from the Candlestian Center, we want to recognize some VIPs who are in our audience. So please stand when you're recognized so Richie Richley can get a nice close-up of you and our team here at WNED. I'd like to welcome U.S. Attorney Bill Hochul, who's here. His wife, of course, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York. Bill doing a great job. Bill recently at our WBBZ studios for a big seminar on opiate addiction, so good luck with the good work you do in our community. I'd like to recognize New York State Assemblyman Robin Schimminger, who's here, right in the front here, Rich. Over at Table 9, we have Dick Novick, who is the Vice President of the New York State Broadcasters Association. And visiting with Rich Newberg is Helen Masha. Helen is the Membership Manager of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the New York chapter. I want to read a little bit about Helen because I think it's very important. Yeah, there's Helen. We'll give her a round of applause. The work that the chapter does for the New York Association is very important because the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences really wants to embrace the Buffalo market. They're conducting now activities that cultivate, promote, and encourage understanding and appreciation for the public interest in the arts and certainly the arts and sciences of television. And that mission is to increase participation throughout the state of New York, particularly here in Buffalo and upstate, and they're looking for more entries. And I know that they're going to provide some value for the members, and who doesn't want an Emmy sitting on their mantle? You know, it's a very big. I also want to send out some well wishes to our friend over at Channel 2, Sports Director Adam Benini. We wish him a speedy recovery. He had a bike accident. So we'll give a shout out to Adam. And also to my brother in broadcasting over at WBBZ-TV, Chris Musial. He's had a pretty tough year this year, and emotionally and physically. So keep a good thought for our pal, Chris. All right. I promised you Jack Horoho's voice, and here it is. Jack, who else are we going to thank?
Thank you, John. We'd like to take a moment now to thank our major supporting sponsors for this evening's event. Buffalo Best Flowers, formerly known as Shelley's Florist, Steve Monaco. Bobby Gans from 3G Graphics, WNED-TV, and friend Dennis DiPaolo and his incredible staff from Ilio DiPaolo's restaurant. We'd also like to thank all of you that bought the program ad and tables for tonight's event.
Jack, that was terrific. Jack, give us that. You know, we talked about you being sort of the Ed McMahon here tonight. There you go. There you go. The night is complete. And Kenny, if you're Doc Severinsen, you need to be wearing something fluorescent. I don't. You'd look good. All right, our first award for the evening for the Hall of Fame is in the radio category. And the award is given to an individual who has blazed trails in the radio business and also in television. You know, for over 20 years, I produced the countdown to New Year's Eve at WKBW when we would ring in the new year. And every year, it seemed, when Larry Norton was on stage in front of the Electric Tower, he was saying, Happy New Year, while Dick Clark was going 10, 9, 8. He was always ahead of the curve, this guy. This year's inductee, of course, is longtime 97 Rock morning personality Larry Norton. We thank board member Jim Safe and President Heidi Raphael for putting this video tribute together.
Get out of here, there's a lobster loose!
Many in Western New York might remember where they were when they heard that Buffalo legend Larry Norton would retire from local radio, where he reigned for more than 4 decades. The legendary WGRF-FM personality stepped away from the mic on December 4th of last year, leaving 97 Rock after 31 event-filled years, where stamina was a hallmark.
Well, here's some things that I realized about Larry Norton. One, we were together for 25 years, which is longer than most marriages. And the plus is, I still have all of my stuff.
The late, great Casey Kasem recognized Norton's efforts on his nationally syndicated radio show.
The disc jockey is Larry Norton, and he works at radio station WGRQ in Buffalo, New York. Back in 1981, Larry Norton set a record by spending the longest time non-stop on the air. He was on the air for 20 consecutive days, and that put him in the Guinness Book of World Records.
After that, the Marathon Man rode on the Ferris wheel while broadcasting at Darien Lake for 40 days. He also sat on billboards, filled trucks with food for the needy, and even immersed himself in chocolate, all to support local charities. He notably stayed on the air for 10 days in 1983 to convince international recording artist The Police to play a concert in Buffalo. The strategy worked, and he got to MC the show. Perhaps Norton's most significant display of endurance was his annual Radiothon in support of the local Make-A-Wish chapter, the organization that grants wishes of children with life-threatening medical conditions. Norton's final radiothon brought his 22-year total to more than $3 million. His work for Make-A-Wish, the Food Bank of Western New York, and others won him many awards and accolades, including the belief that he has raised more money for local charities than any other DJ in Buffalo history.
Larry used to hate the name Snortin' Norton because everybody made an assumption, so that's why we call him Schmuck.
Norton's interest in radio began at Amherst High School and continued at Buff State in 1975, when he got his first paid job working weekends and overnights at the former WYSL-AM and WPHD-FM. He later moved to 7 p.m. to midnight on WPHD before crossing over to 97 Rock and doing mornings with the Bearman in 1981. 97 Rock went off the air in 1985, but returned 3 years later, with many of the original crew, like Carl Rousseau.
We're back. You know, if somebody would have told me that 97 Rock would return and I'd be back here in Buffalo, I'd have said they were crazy, but my whole family came back and we're all home now. Never gonna talk over the beginnings of songs.
97 Rock, we're back and rocking.
You know, I hate when guys talk over songs.
I hate when guys use this blue cheese.
Wait a minute.
Back in the late 80s, a big story in Western New York, Buffalo, was the city parks department and Bob Delano, who was running the department at that time under Jimmy Griffin. And the story was that Delano got a lot of free services by the city workers. So Larry did his show live from Delaware Park one morning, looking to see if he could get any of the parks departments to come and cut his lawn. No luck. In fact, he was politely escorted out by the Buffalo City Police Department.
Norton could be heard on The Morning Show from 1988 until his recent retirement. Many of those 27 years were spent working with friends and colleagues like Rob Lederman and Chris Klein.
I know there's not that much of an age difference between us, but Larry was kind of like a father figure to me, and I learned that from my mom.
As a program director, one of the things that made Larry such a great employee for me was that he would never say no.
Stop me! Nobody can stop me!
He knew the importance of getting out and pressing flesh and what it meant to not only his brand, but the radio station's brand.
On a serious note, Mr. Nevereth, I miss you so much. Seriously, Larry, if it wasn't for you, I would not be where I am today. Still at this friggin' studio. Thanks.
Larry, congratulations on this honor. Well-deserved after all your years of great radio and great work in Buffalo and Western New York. Congratulations, you deserve to be in the Buffalo Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame.
The BBA is proud to induct Larry Norton into the 2016 class of the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
Would you welcome Larry Norton?
You can see where the radio guys are over here. Thank you all very much. It's a great honor. Half the stuff out there I don't even remember anymore. But it's such an honor, a privilege to be here and see so many friends. Congratulations to the rest of our class this year going in. And it's great to see so many people here tonight that I've known for over the years. And a lot of you, I thank you for your concern. Obviously, retirement's going all right. I'm getting plenty enough to eat, obviously. So that's going all right. And saving money on shampoo as well. So that's good for me. I realize how blessed I am over the years to be known for Make-A-Wish and all the things that I've done over the years. Retired at 59 and I'll be in the Hall of Fame. It's perfect story for me. What I've learned over these 40 years, though, is a quote that I live by: to those that much is given, much is expected. And I could never, ever give back enough for all the blessings I've received. My family's here and my career, a chance to do work for Make-A-Wish. It's been just absolutely wonderful. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Danny Nevereth, who's here tonight, and Sandy Beach, who was a neighbor when I was a kid. I wanted to be Jackson Armstrong, WKBW Radio Music, and John McGann, QFM 97. And guys who were my heroes on the radio. And now, just to be mentioned in the same room as them, I know I could never fill their shoes. Don Burns, Y103. His last week on the air was my first week when I was 19 years old at WYSL and WPHD. And over these years, some of the thrills I've had include, you saw, flying a fighter jet with the Blue Angels, meeting my favorite bands, McCartney, Ringo, The Police. But my greatest joy was being able to take my father to Super Bowl 25. My greatest accomplishment, oh boy, how long would it take for him to cry? That's what they always meant. Doesn't take long, folks. My greatest accomplishment hasn't been mentioned here. It's my 2 amazing children. No father has ever been more proud of his 2 kids than I am of you, Daniel and Jeanette. I know it was not always easy. So you guys got applause. I know it was not always easy having your old man be the jerk on the radio. Wasn't always fun for them, but the best part now is I get to thank the people that helped me get here tonight. And you're going to know many of them. First, my mom and dad for their great sense of humor. They always wondered when I'd get a real job. Thankfully, that never happened. A man across the street, Mr. Carrier, gave me a tape recorder when I was 12. It's actually in that Hall of Fame storage room. I think it's a doorstop right now, but maybe someday it'll be on display. Tom Atkins, who's one of the original founders here of this organization, he's the one that built the radio station in high school in a janitor's closet. Al Anscombe, great name to so many that you know. He actually had our radio station on his new cable television channel. We were like the first VJs. The guys at Buff State who were mentors to me, Tony Vetteroli, Frank Stasio, guys I did shows with, Gary McNamara, Tom Connolly, who just recently passed away, Herb Fleming, who's a big part here of this. He actually taught me an internship when I was in school, and Dr. Jim Seward, who was an advisor and mentor. And then the guy who gave me my first paycheck, I always have to sing his name, Robert W. Taylor. He's the one who hired me when I was 19, and Harv Moore didn't fire me, and I'm so lucky because I sucked. I think you'll agree that Taylor and Moore should be in this Hall of Fame. And Harv, I wish you would accept the honor that we'd love for you to have. George Harris hired me at 97 Rock. Jim DeFilia wouldn't fire us. Most people don't know Jim DeFilia quit as general manager rather than be there the day all of us got fired from 97 Rock. Their bear man who you saw in there was changed my life by asking me to do the morning show with him one day. And Bruce Barber, a great friend. Wayne Summers, who passed away, I traded shifts with him. The Rich family, Bob and Mindy Rich, they do so much for this community. They and David Rich, they brought back 97 Rock in great style. And a man who was there, a great part of it at the time, Mike Rosman, consummate radio professional who helped put us on the air. Charlie Banta and Bill Sauer, who made 97 Rock a big success. Isn't it amazing how many lives we touch? My old partner, Mark Stout, best sports guy ever on the radio. And my fellow 97 Rockers who were here. Dear friends, I love you guys. JP, Jixter, Carl Russo, Slick Tom. These guys are like family to me, and they're still rocking at the Mighty 97 along with Steve Trippey, Steve Barents, Russ Burton, and Saints Day One, John Hager, who was so kind in the video, my boss and my friend and leader of 97 Rock. God has truly, truly blessed me. I got to live my dream of being on the radio. I thank everybody that I've worked with, so many people in sales and support staff here tonight. The Hall of Fame, I thank you. The amazing Mighty Heidi and DJ the DJ, or DG the DJ. Especially thank the good people of Buffalo and Western New York for listening to me for all those many years and for helping to pay for my children's college. It's been a wonderful thing. But none of it would have been possible, though, if it weren't for one very special person, my best friend, the love of my life, Mike Murphy. Mike Murphy, no. How the hell did you? No. My wife, Barbara. Amazing, lovely Barbara. 37 years she has put up with me. Yeah, I know. Wow. Susan Hunt says, wow. Yeah. She's more than the better half. She's at least 3/4 of the arrangement. She's taught me how to find peace and contentment. And she's also taught me that apparently a quick wit and sarcastic sense of humor are fine when you're on the radio. At home, just annoying. And finally, I have to thank my brother and sister of the airwaves, Rob Lederman and Chris Klein. I love you guys. I share this award with you because I was with you all those years on 97 Rock. And if there's one thing I miss in retirement, it's laughing with you every day. They're still on the air on 97 Rock, Rob and Chris with Rich Gensler, the Bull. They're doing a great job. So now I'm done. Time to fade away, but it has truly been a wonderful life for me. I thank you for this incredible honor. I hope God blesses all of you as he has blessed me with peace and contentment. And like Gene Wilder said in the movie Willy Wonka, I'm the guy who got everything I ever wanted. So now I can live happily ever after. Thank you.
heard the great KB Radio, 1520 AM. The success of that station led to the creation of Channel 7 in 1958. Yes, it was a very good year.
It certainly was, Jack Horho. 1958, the year that WKBW came on the air, WKBW Television. Al Anscombe was the program director at WKBW Radio and was the man behind the scenes who worked with the owner then, Reverend Clinton Churchill, to put Channel 7 in place. I had the honor of meeting him 8 years ago before he passed. Showed me this great big thick book that he had to give to the FCC to put Channel 7 together. It was quite something. And this year, the Al Anscombe Award is presented to an executive who, throughout his or her career, has demonstrated excellence in leadership and service in broadcasting. And this year's inductee is Steve Zappia. And yes, a round of applause for Steve. On a personal note, in 1982, December of 1982, as Dave Thomas's college intern in Philadelphia at WPVI, I was able to come to Buffalo and interview with Steve, and Steve hired me to come to produce AM Buffalo at the age of 20, right out of Temple University. And I will tell you that I had a lot of big ideas with absolutely very short experience to back any of that up. And I will tell you that as a young man in my 20s and moving forward at WKBW at the time, I probably pressed Steve's buttons a little bit too much with some of the things we tried to do. Some of them didn't work. So if I ever showed any disrespect to you, Steve, I own that, and I apologize to you right here on this night that is yours. I will tell you, though, that some of the things that we learned as a team coming up with Steve and some of the other individuals at WKBW, mostly Steve, you were really a true trailblazer. And some of the things that we're doing now at WBBZ-TV, kind of reinventing programming on many levels, I can see where some of the great fun you had in those days putting television on the air when no one was doing it. So we want to thank Sue Dobmeyer and Linda Pellegrino from WKBW for putting Steve's video tribute together.
For Steve Zappia, WKBW-TV was home for 33 years as he helped build the old Churchill Tabernacle into the first home of Circle 7. It was 1958 when Rick Azar signed the station on the air with, ladies and gentlemen, WKBW-TV Channel 7 is on the air, followed by Jimmy Cagney and Yankee Doodle Dandy. And as they say, the rest is history. But that history was molded by Steve and the many behind-the-scenes greats who created live television every day. It was a magical time for TV. Dialing for Dollars, Rocket Ship 7, and Eyewitness News with Irv, Rick, and Tom. Steve had his hand in everything from producing to directing and building sets. Rocket Ship 7 with Dave Thomas was the staple of the 60s, as kids flocked to their TV sets every morning as Promo the Robot, Dave and Steve entertained audiences with Davy and Goliath and Gumby in between their antics. A few years later, the Commander Tom Show welcomed kids home from school with Dust Mop, Maddie, and Cicely, while Superman and the Three Stooges entertained us in the afternoon, all with Steve behind the scenes. And of course, it was live as well as the commercials.
The technology, of course, has changed an awful lot. At the advent of videotape was probably the biggest thing that happened in this industry. Because before videotape, you know, these guys had to rehearse everything. We had to rehearse and do all of the commercials live in the newscast. And of course, the news was live, but there was no videotape. All we had was a little film.
In fact, we were talking, Rick, remember, relate that story about the commercial you were doing for the dairy. You had practiced the ice cream, right?
You remember that. Yeah, we used to have to rehearse, as Steve was just saying, and we would get in around 10 o'clock, and the commercials were rehearsed, the newscast was rehearsed, and I was doing some commercials for some strawberry ice cream. There you are. Seal test. Is that it? No, that's Milk for Health. I did the commercials for Milk for Health, too. At any rate, they didn't want to bring the ice cream out an hour before airtime because it would be soup by the time we got on the air with the lights and everything. So you just pretended they had the empty thing there, and I'm saying all this beautiful things about the strawberry ice cream. And then came time to do the commercial, and the production person who was ever on forgot to put the ice cream out there. And we got a nice big close-up shot of an empty jar. And I'm saying, isn't this gorgeous, beautiful, tasty strawberry ice cream? And there wasn't any in there.
While these shows were all about the kids, nothing was more precious to Zappia than the Variety Telethon, back when big stars came to town. Steve headed up the production of the telethon from 1961 until his retirement in 1996. The Children's Playroom at Children's Hospital is even named in his honor.
You could see with Variety Telethon and Steve's involvement with the Variety people that he was 100% in it for the kids. His face would just glow when there was be a special kid moment or a family moment on the telethon. And he really prepared for the telethon. He took hours and hours and hours of time throughout the year to put on what needed to be accomplished.
Steve was a pioneer in Buffalo television who made his mark first at Main Street, then to the present location, creating a state-of-the-art facility near Buffalo's waterfront in 1978.
Steve Zappia, I met him at Main Street, the old station. Went for an interview, talked for about an hour, and I handed him my resume, and he handed it to Don Howland. And after maybe about 6 years after that, I got a call to come in to do some summer relief for him. And the rest was history.
The technology may have changed over the years and shows may have become a little too real these days, but nothing was more real than how Steve Zappia created memories for generations and touched the lives of so many that passed through the doors of WKBW-TV.
Steve, thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope I showed you well, and I live your legacy, and I know now that I've been at the station for as long as I've been, what you had to go through on a day-to-day basis. I tip my hat off to you. You really were the beginning of my life in broadcasting. Thank you for everything.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So thanks, Steve. Congratulations.
For that, we thank you and are proud to induct you into the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame in the Al Anscombe Broadcast Management category.
Here to present and talk about Steve is his longtime friend, Buffalo Broadcasting Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations, Steve. Our friend Dave Thomas, remembering him from Dialing for Dollars, The Weather Outside, and Rocket Ship 7, is Steve's longtime friend. Dave, come on up and say a few words about Steve.
No, I'm going to...
You can do it right from down there if you want.
Thanks, John.
Come on up.
What a crowd it is tonight. Steve, sit down, buddy. Sit down because I know what you're going through. It was probably, I think it was about 55 years ago, there was a young kid that wanted to get into television. And he had worked very hard at it, worked in radio and so forth. And he was looking for an opportunity, and one came along, he had a chance to audition. He went into this television station to audition, and he was very nervous, lots of pressure. We went in there, and the director came out and said something to him and then disappeared. Now he's standing alone in the studio, and this guy comes up to him and says, listen, camera one there, kid, and we're going to cut to two, and we're going to do this. I just listened to everything he said, not remembering a word of it. But what I did remember was a young man who embraced me, took me in and said, hey kid, don't worry, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. He was there with the cues, they were left, they were right. They put me through a pretty good audition. It was over with, he said good luck, and I left. It was probably 6 months later, I got the job. It was at WKBW-TV, and the guy that embraced me way back then, the first stage manager in television I ever had, was Steve Zappia. Yeah. I've worked with a lot of stage managers since, Steve, and you were the best. You were the best. There's no doubt about that. When you talk about Steve, we have so many memories from doing a lot of different shows. We weathered a few snowstorms trying to get to at Rocket Ship 7 early in the morning. We ran from 6 to 9. Steve was always ahead of the game. He was up at 3. He'd give me a call a little after 3, It's snowing. You're supposed to get 14 inches. How are you coming in? If you get stuck, I'll meet you. I'll pick you up. Always ahead of the game. He was always at the station first. And I was always there probably just before we went on the air. But he was always there helping, producing, always prepared. You could not have worked with a better professional in television. If you had Steve by your side, you knew he always had your back. And I'll always love you for that, buddy. But one of the things I remember most of all, we're on the air live, and they had hired a new maintenance man to come in. And the studio was about this size, not as high as this. He decided to go up and check on top of the roof what was going on. There was some kind of a problem. So we're doing the show live. I'm standing there with Promo and my buddy. And we hear this rumbling up above, like someone's walking up above the beams. So we started laughing, and Promo's saying, hey, I think there's somebody, you think Santa Claus is coming early? We're doing all the shtick that you usually do. Steve's going, what the hell's going on out there? What are you guys doing? Are you causing trouble again for me? All of a sudden, we're standing there, and debris comes down. The guy was up there going through the beams looking, and he had impaled himself. So we look up, and we see 2 legs, a man screaming, right? And all this stuff coming down on top of myself. Promo says to me, I'll see you, Dave. I have to go. And he walks off. Steve said, what the hell happened? I said, we'll be right back. Just some of the ideas of the fun that we had. But this man was the guiding force behind all of it. As I said, he was always prepared. His wonderful wife, Colette, his son and daughter, Tracy and Eric, and all the grandkids are here tonight. And we just love them dearly. They took us in, not only in the business, but they took us into their family. And Steve, we love you, and long deserved, my friend, and enjoy for the rest of your life. Steve Zappia. Stay there. You got it.
Oh. Well, that was very nice. I've got to say a few words, and first things first, I need to tell you what an honor this is, and I'm humbled by it. My acceptance of this award really wouldn't be possible without the love and support of my my family, my rock, my partner, my wife Colette, my children, Tracy and Eric, my daughter-in-law Betsy, and my grandchildren, the love of my life. Alexa, this is it. Alexa, Chad, Jacob, and Jolie, and they're all here with me tonight, as you can see. Without their continual support in all that I do, none of this would have been possible. I'd also like to thank my close friend, Dave Thomas, who stuck by my side as producer, director, and host team for 17 years on Rocket Ship 7. Dave and his wife, Patty, flew in to be with me here tonight, and I thank them for being so supportive. Speaking as a true Buffalo native, born and raised here in the Queen City, I'm honored to think that I'm associated with those who have contributed to the heyday of Buffalo broadcasting. We're only as good as those around us. And I'm honored to be surrounded by the best of the best in the industry. It's with my sincerest gratitude that I accept this induction And I thank you all again for your kind thoughts, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening. Thank you.
Did you know, by the way, shameless plug for the family's restaurant, did you know that Dave and the late Lou Bellatier invented spaghetti parm? It just struck me that you have to go over and get... Dave was there one night, put the cheese up on the spaghetti, broiled it. Look, my daughter thanks you, as the family does. Your second career is... All right, we are honored to recognize a family-owned station that has played an important role in informing and serving Genesee County for the past 75 years, WBTA, FM, and AM. Let's take a look.
WBTA Radio, Genesee County's only locally owned commercial radio station, signed on at 7 a.m. Thursday, February 6, 1941. That year, Frank Severn of the Board of Visitors at the New York State School for the Blind in Batavia made what is believed to be the first remote broadcast by the station.
4 years ago, I was appointed by Charles Evans Hughes, a member of the governing board of this school.
The station's studios and offices were located on the second floor of 90 Main Street in Batavia, where they remained until 1957. The station moved to 113 Main Street in 2004 when it was purchased by its present owner, HPL Communications, owned by Daniel and Deborah Fisher. The station was originally owned by 3 Batavia residents, Joseph Ryan, Edward P. Atwitter, and Edmund R. Gamble. But it was owner William F. Brown who was best known for his regular editorials on local issues. He won 16 Best Editorial Awards from the New York State Broadcasters Association. Brown expanded the station's news coverage, which was apparent in the 1971 coverage of the Attica prison revolt. When the Fishers formed HPL Communications and purchased WBTA in 2004, new digital studios were built, and WBTA moved to its present location at the corner of Main and Center Street, which became the name of the station's morning talk show, Main and Center. Since 2014, a new FM allows WBTA to broadcast in stereo, while a streaming web presence and iPhone and Android apps keep the station relevant for a new generation of listeners.
We're proud of WBTA's legacy of service to Batavia and Genesee County. Radio has certainly undergone significant changes over the past 75 years and will continue to change and evolve over the next 75. But I believe its basic commitment to serving the public interest will never change.
And tonight, the Buffalo Broadcasters Association proudly salutes WBTA Batavia on their 75th anniversary.
We thank board member Pat Feldbaugh for putting that video together. Please welcome WBTA owners Dan and Debbie Fisher to the stage.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That was very nice. And I don't want to take anything away from the individual awards that have been handed out this evening for the individual achievement, Steve Zappia and Larry Norton. This award is for the station. And the one thing I do want to say is that I accept this award on behalf of the station from the Buffalo Broadcasters Association with the stipulation that I will be here to accept the award for our second 75 years from tonight. We are the quintessential heritage station, and those who are in radio know what that means. Our community has grown up with us. Several generations have been with us for years. We've announced their births, their military service, their weddings, and even their passing. Their achievements on the sports field, accomplishments in their occupations, we've been with our audience through the good times and the bad. It's a very personal relationship that stations like ours have with their audience. And we take very seriously our pledge to serve the public interest, convenience, and necessity. The broadcasters in this room know those buzzwords of the FCC. We're only caretakers of the license that we have been granted. The airwaves belong to the public that we serve. It is a privilege to operate a station like WBTA. I remind myself of that every day. And I hope that those who sit in the corporate offices now of major radio companies remind themselves of that too. I want to thank my family who is here. Many of them are here tonight. Two of my executives from the station, Lauren Way, my sales manager, and Jim Ernst, one of our account reps. But the other person that needs to, where are you? Oh, you're right. She's right here by my side, where she's always been. My partner and my wife, my love of my life, my wife, Debbie. And I want to thank the Buffalo broadcasters. This is very, very special. Please know that you've honored a very special station, not because of us, but because of its years of service to Genesee County. And thank you very much.
And I'd like to take a moment now to also share that AM 1230 went on the air in 1956, some 60 years ago. That little station in Cheektowaga, New York, known as WNIA, produced a number of well-known local and national radio personalities. The station's general manager, Mary Lawnsberry, gave many of us our start in broadcasting. That station now is known as WECK and continues the long tradition under the able ownership of Dick Green. So congratulations, Dick, and the entire staff of 1230 WECK.
You know, there are many who work in broadcasting that are unsung heroes that make the station great by running it smoothly and with distinction, both on and off the air. And this year's Behind the Scenes Award goes to longtime Buffalo State professor known as Tom McCray, known on the air on the great WECK radio as morning personality Tom Donahue. We want to thank board member Pat Feldball for putting Tom's videotape together.
After graduating from Utica College in 1972, Tom McCray began a Buffalo radio career that saw him work just about every shift and job description possible at a large number of local radio stations. He was first hired by Jeff Kay at WKBW in '72, a job that lasted all of a month. For the next 2 years, he bounced between WYSL, where he acquired his radio name Tom Donahue, WUSJ in Lockport, and back to WYSL before Larry Anderson hired him at WGR.
Midnight Confessions, Grassroots at GR 55 from 1968. That opens up the Tom Donahue program. Our Welcome the Wolfman weekend is underway.
Tom Donahue, mild-mannered school teacher by day.
Minor squares divided into hypotenuse to the right triangle of the
by Saturday night, Tom Donahue without the aid of telephone.
In September, as Tom Donahue started his very successful Saturday Night Oldies show at KB, when PD Neil McGinley brought him on board, another significant hiring took place. This time, Tom McCray was hired full-time at Buffalo State College, where he taught radio, production, and announcing, and served as faculty advisor to the college radio station WBNY. Tom Calderon, Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame member and successful executive with VH1 and Spotify, was a student of Tom's.
You know, the first time I met Tom was August before I started at Buffalo State. And Tom was my, I guess, you know, in a sense, my counselor there at Buff State. We just had a probably 2-hour conversation about the business. And the one thing I liked about it was that he was realistic to talk about the struggles and the sacrifice that you had to get through to be in this business, but also the hope and glory that it is a fun business to be in, and you could just see it in his face. And the one thing that differentiated him from so many other people that I met along the way in Buffalo was that he gave back. You know, he didn't have to teach. He didn't have to sit in those classes. He didn't have to be the counselor to WBNY. He didn't have to do that, but he did it because he wanted that passion to basically connect to the students. Elements of that learning experience never left us, at least never left me, and Tom is a big part of why that was. And I think having Tom inducted to the Hall of Fame really is not just about his years at KB or WGR or HTT. It's really about WBNY and Buffalo State and everyone that he nurtured and mentored throughout the industry. There's a ton of us out there that owe Tom a big thanks to our careers, because you always have his voice in the back of your head every time you're either doing something or what have you. It always was. Tom is back there, so which is a really good thing, very comforting.
It was evident that Tom put the same love, heart, and effort into his teaching career that he put into radio, retiring from the college in 2015.
I think that he, in my mind at least, personifies what a Hall of Fame should be. Someone who has dedicated a number of years to the profession, who has excelled in the profession, and who has brought other people along who are also successful in the profession. I think that his body of work is tremendous. That my question would be, why did it take you so long? I think that he's good. He was very good at what he did and still does, and that he's recognizable, and that he's not like, Tom Brady, but he's one of those people when you think of, oh yeah, automatic, he should be there. Not in the Hall of the Very Good, but in the Hall of Fame. And I think that his work showed that.
In the 80s and 90s, while successful in academia, Tom was also successful in radio, doing stints as program director at KB, morning host and production director at GR, with stops at WNUC and Oldies 104. As a voice talent, Tom has been a voice for many businesses, including Tops Markets and Mavis Tire, and he received a first-place award from the Broadcast Education Association for a Buffalo Bills comeback piece at a ceremony in Las Vegas. In 2003, he returned to KB, where he partnered with Dan Nevereth on The Morning Show.
Most of the people on this video are going to tell you what a wonderful person Tom is. But there are some things about Tom that I don't like, and I'm going to tell you what they are right now. All right? Number one, he's taller than I am. He's younger than I am. He has a better voice than I have. And number four, and most important, he still has a job. He's still working. What about me? I'm unemployed. Okay, now the good stuff, okay? Just a general, all-around, talented, good guy, good family man. A little cheap, though. I just want to say congratulations, Tom. You certainly deserve this honor. And it was great working with you, and it's great to know that you're a friend.
Following KB, Tom did news on the lake until March 2008, when he became morning host at Timeless WEC Radio, where he is to this day. Recognizing his outstanding career as a teacher and mentor to hundreds of students at Buffalo State College, and his ongoing career as a radio personality, voice talent, program and production director, it is with great pleasure that we proudly induct Tom Donahue into the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame, class of 2016.
First of all, I got a question for John. John, does this give me bragging rights?
You're on, Tom. You're on.
Wondered.
You may want to host it. You never know.
And secondly, you already have seen me, because every time I stood up to applaud for the people, they said I was blocking the cameras. I'm sorry about that. I really am. Gosh, what an honor. This is such an honor tonight. So many great people that I've known, many of you. A lot of my students are here, my colleagues here. And, to go in on the 20th anniversary of the Buffalo Broadcasters Association and to be inducted with several people that are so wonderful and so talented, it is such indeed an honor to be here today. You may be asking yourselves, how did this Tom Donahue guy become Professor Tom McCrae? And I had been hired by the Journalism, Broadcasting, and Speech Department, as it was known at Buff State at the time, to teach one course. And I came over there, glad, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I taught a radio production course. Well, then I was working at WGR Radio, GR 55. I went into work one morning, this is February of 1981, and Larry Anderson, our program director, called me into his office, and this is a story you've probably heard, a lot of you have heard things like this. He called me into his office, said, Tom, he says, Taft is not going to renew your contract anymore. He says, we'll keep you on until August, but then, you know, it's out. I said, oh boy. So literally, and as Sandy Beach would say, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I go into Buff State later that day to teach my one course. Ron Rabin, who was the acting chair of the department at the time, calls me into his office, said, Tom, we'd like to have you teach with us full time. We'd like you to start at the end of August of this year. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, in other words, August 28th, 1981 was my last day at GR. The following Monday, I started teaching at Buffalo State College. And obviously, I had the opportunity to teach hundreds and hundreds of students, many of them here. My God, it's good to see, you know, Tom Calderon and Bruce Shepard and yeah. You have also possibly seen my face around town. When I retired a year and a half ago, they threw me a party at Chef's, and it was wonderful. Some of them got a little, well, shall we say, happy, and decided to go around town and put up these pictures of me on somewhere in Richmond Avenue, a few on Elmwood, and I think a lot of them are still there, to be quite honest with you. But some of the students I've taught have gone on to, you know, gone into radio. Despite some of the things I said, they went into radio. Some of them became television anchors and reporters. And some of them went to the dark side and went into management. Also, I want to thank, of course, my daughter, Kimberly, who is here. Our son, unfortunately, couldn't be here. He's down in Houston, Texas, with his family. My sister, Pat, is here. And I obviously do want to thank so much my dear wife of 41 years, my wife, Barbara, who is here tonight as well. Thank you, Barb. I couldn't do it without her. Couldn't do it without her. I will close with a quick quote from a memo that Jeff Kay sent to us when I was there just prior to going into a rating period. And this is true. And I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but it said in part, when, gentlemen, and he did say gentlemen, when doing your shows, you can make me laugh, you can make me cry, at times you can even make me angry, but never, ever bore me. Thank you. God bless. Thanks very much.
Don't go away, Tom. Don't go away. Tom Donahue, everybody. Tom, come on over. So let's take your applause first. Take your applause first. We heard that Tom sings a mean rendition of New York, New York. So we're giving you the red stick mic.
Oh, my.
Let's hear it.
Does it work?
It does now.
Is it on? Okay. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These
old town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York, New
Hey, but you know, you met this individual a little earlier in the show, and I think it's time to catch up with the great Jack Horoho. So you hang out with this guy every Sunday morning?
Well, possibly. You know, I'm going to answer a question that's on everyone's mind.
What is that question?
That question is, who the hell is Jack Horoho?
Yeah.
That is a question, that's burning question. I am probably the oldest announcer that they could find to do this. The rest of them are in an assisted living facility in Williamsville. But I've been in the broadcast business off and on for many, many years. I started off in 1964, some 52 years ago, working for a small radio station in Cheektowaga, WNIA. I continued to work in the market, various radio stations, including WEBR during the Sound of the City era. All the radio stations that I worked at, by the way, are no longer around. For that matter, very few of my listeners are still around. From there, I went on to do a real estate television show on Channel 2 for 10 years. I continue to do some voiceover work. I'm involved in theater, and I just did a small little part in the movie Marshall that'll be released next year. So I thank you so much for having me here this evening.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Jack Horoho, the great Jack Horoho. And, you know, from your golden voice, Jack, to the Golden Age Award, and I want to bring Dave back up, Dave Thomas, which, by the way, what a terrific moment with Steve and his family. But, Dave, come on up. Help me introduce this, because Dave was there up front, but this time I want Dave to, here, get the red stick. We'll give you your own mic this time, too, Dave. I want to...
First time I've ever called it a red stick.
So what was it like? What was it like with the count and the amount?
What was it like?
Yeah, what was it like daily to talk to those viewers live on television?
It was very exciting. We were always hoping that somebody was watching, but the man that made that show work, along with the lovely Liz Dribbin, who was a member of the Hall of Fame, was Nolan Johannes. Nolan Johannes appeared in WKBW-TV. I'm not exactly sure where he came from. There was a rumor going around that a Johannes was coming. And all of us said, what's a Johannes? Sounded like somebody from Norway or Sweden. But all of a sudden, this young, dignified guy walked in. It was Nolan. And he was very polite, very, very nice, and fit in nicely with everybody there at the station. But he was such a dependable guy. Nolan was always there. He did the first, back to you talking about the environment, he did the first, what do they call that? The
documentary for environmental?
No, you get 2 more chances.
Okay. Earth environmental, Earth Day shows?
You got 1 more chance.
Cartoon?
Wrong. Earth Day? Did they call it Earth Day?
It's in 1970.
Thank you. 1970. Yeah. Year you were born.
They
had, so it was Earth Day. So Nolan got involved in all of that. And he worked with Liz very, very well. And I remember leaving the station, and Nolan left shortly thereafter, I guess, and went to Scranton and worked in Scranton. But one of the thrills for me tonight is just to say a few words about Nolan, how great he was to work with, and never had a problem, even-tempered guy. I always thought something was wrong with him. He was so good in what he did in our business, and involved with Johnny and Jimmy, and Johnny has left us. He played Promo the Robot for I don't know how many years. But Jimmy's here tonight. Jimmy, stand up. Johnny and Jimmy. There's Jimmy. And both of those guys, Johnny and Jimmy, worked so well with Nolan. It was perfect, and Liz, it was great. Every now and then when somebody got sick, they would let me do the show. And then after the show, they say, well, Dave, I don't think you exactly fit in this format. But Nolan was the nicest guy possible, and a thrill for me tonight. I remember two little kids when I left the station. They were little then. I'm talking about Nolan's two children, young adults now. And I got a chance to see them again, and what a thrill that is for me. And I remember Nolan as a dear friend, and I have great memories. We talked once when he was in Scranton, always planned that, we're going to get together in person, but it never worked out. So if there's someone in your life that you say we're going to get together, make it happen. Make it happen. But I'm so proud to be here with his two children tonight.
We're going to meet his two children in just a little bit. But while you're here, Dave, sharing your memories, WKBW put together a video in tribute to Nolan Johannes. We want to thank Katie Morris for her work on this tribute. Take a look.
It was May of 1964 when Nolan Johannes joined the WKBW team. Within 4 months, the investigative reporter and anchor took on a new role, perhaps his most well-known in Western New York, host of the morning variety program, Dialing for Dollars.
Buffalo, it became Buffalo. If you came into town as an entertainer, or if you came into town as an ice show or something, this is the show you had to go to be on. This is like the show.
Called people on the phone, and they really answered, and they talked to them. It was amazing in those days. It really was a very, very important part of the community.
Johannes, Liz Dribbin, and musicians Johnny and Jimmy were the show's regulars. Eventually, Dave Thomas joined.
Let's welcome our co-host on Dialing for Dollars, Mr. David Thomas, right now.
Dialing for Dollars started as a half-hour program. By the end of its run 14 years later, the show was 90 minutes.
Liz, I think you're falling down on the job. Do you mind if I...
in front of a live studio audience.
It was the best. That was the only way the show would ever fly. The audience makes the whole activity great. So when we had the live audience came in, it just made it special.
Johannes had his own way of making the show special, connecting with each guest no matter what the topic.
We had weekly segments on a sewing lady, and there was a cooking lady, and there was an exercise person, and then there was me. And whatever legal issue I would bring up, he was always prepared. He always made me feel comfortable, relaxed.
He was so professional. He was so prepared all the time.
Dialing for Dollars gave away cash and so much more. Listen to Johannes talk about his time on the show.
We gave away lawnmowers, portable wash machines, more portable wash machines, a couple of fur coats, and even a car.
All those Good Morning programs where you do different things that involve people in their daily activities and make them feel that they're part of what's going on. It's the same feeling, and it was the forerunner, I think.
Johannes also reported on community issues in his public affairs series Here and Now and his weekly For the People feature on Eyewitness News. In 1982, Johannes left Buffalo for Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I'll never forget the fine people at Channel 7 and all of you in Western New York.
I think often about Irv, Rick, and Tom, old buddy Dave Thomas, Promo the Robot, Johnny and Jimmy.
He was the main anchor at WNEP until he retired in 1996.
So for the entire Newswatch 16 team, good night.
Following his retirement, Johannes and his wife Marion stayed in the Scranton area. He passed away in 2015 at the age of 81. Gone, but never forgotten. The Buffalo Broadcasters Association proudly inducts Nolan Johannes into the 2016 class of the Hall of Fame.
And Dave, as you mentioned, we have Nolan's daughter Karen Dalton and son David Johannes. Come on up to the stage to recognize your dad.
like everyone else here, we don't really have prepared remarks, but we just, on behalf of our whole family, we want to thank you all so much. This award would have meant a great deal to my dad, and especially being inducted with his good friend Steve Zappia. It really, really would have been very special for him. And to know that half of Johnny and Jimmy are here is really great for us. And I really want to thank Dave Thomas for calling me a young adult. I am thrilled. No hot flashes tonight for me, I can tell. So anyway, on behalf of our whole family, thank you very much. This is really wonderful. Thank you.
There are broadcasters that made an everlasting impact on our industry, many of those we've honored here tonight and in our lives. But for instance, some of those have passed, and we want to take a moment now to pay tribute to those who have left us over this past year.
It's been our pleasure. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
And while we honor and remember those who have passed, we also want to celebrate those that will shape the future of the Buffalo Broadcasting for generations yet to come. Men and women who will continue the traditions and make us all proud.
Remember this jingle, everybody? Buffalo's got the spirit, talking proud, talking proud. You can sing along if you'd like. From the early 80s. One legendary newsman who was also talking proud about our hometown was the late Tim Russert. Born and raised in South Buffalo, he was always a Buffalo booster. Go Bills, of course, his signature sign-off every Sunday morning when he hosted NBC's Meet the Press. Tim died unexpectedly in 2006. A $1,000 Tim Russert Medal of Merit Scholarship provided by Greater Media Incorporated is awarded to a student each year who is interested in a career in journalism and broadcasting in honor of Mr. Russert's vast contributions to our industry. This year's winner is Stephanie Aponte from Canisius College. Our board member Pat Feldball prepared this video.
In 2007, following the death of Tim Russert, the Buffalo Broadcasters Association established the Tim Russert Medal of Merit to honor and encourage the best young broadcast journalists, just as Tim Russert did during his professional life. This year's recipient, Stephanie Aponte, graduated from Canisius College in May of 2016 with a Bachelor of Science and dual majors in journalism and communications. Stephanie was active in student media as a member of the Canisius College Video Institute and Griffin TV, as well as an associate editor of the student newspaper, The Griffin. She studied abroad and served as president of the National Communication Honor Society at Canisius and has held several broadcasting internships, including iHeartMedia, WROC-TV in Rochester, and WGRZ-TV in Buffalo. It is with great pleasure that the Buffalo Broadcasters Association presents the 2016 Tim Russert Medal of Merit Scholarship Award to Stephanie Aponte of Canisius College.
So we welcome Stephanie. Congratulations, Stephanie. Here, by the way, is your scholarship check right there. You're welcome. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I have prepared a couple remarks.
Very briefly,
okay.
sure.
Okay. Just wanted to say good evening, everyone. So my name is Stephanie Aponte. I recently graduated from Canisius College. If you would have told me my first year of college that I'd be up here right now, probably would not have believed you. But honestly, it's truly an honor to be here, a privilege to be sitting in front of you with people that I've looked up to my whole life. It's humbling to know that many of tonight's inductees have been in the business for longer than my lifetime. It's very impressive, I must say. The values and the characteristics that this specific award stands for is exactly what I've been striving for. So even though I'm just in the beginning of this journey, I did not get here without the support, the encouragement of my family, my friends, and the professors at Canisius who have believed in me since day one. And I just want to give a special shout out to my professor, Dr. Irwin. She's sitting right over there. Thank you for helping me get here today. And thank you so much, the association, for making one of my dreams come true. So thank you so much, everyone.
We have some of our friends here. Dave Jixter, The Robert Wood Show, Monday nights live at 7. Ronnie D is here from Polka Buzz, and happy to be here represented. This past year, the Buffalo Broadcasters Association launched its first ever student mentoring program. 3 outstanding students were chosen to participate in an intense 6-month track, which provided them with the opportunity to meet and speak to broadcast professionals working in their chosen career paths. We're pleased to recognize the students who completed the program at this time, so we welcome them on stage. Jackie Roberts received a recent graduate of St. Bonaventure University. She's going to receive her recognition. Come on up on stage. Come on up. I want to see you. She's now working at Time Warner Cable News. Our friends John Borsa and Ann Herenda and those guys. And Greg Garrett, a graduate of ECC and now a junior at Buffalo State College, interning at Time Warner Cable. Come on up, Greg. And Joe Stojic, a recent ECC graduate who returned to college after serving our country in the military. Thank you for your service, Joe. Now a junior at Medaille College, pursuing a degree in communications. Of course, you saw Greg and Joe on the bragging rights earlier this year, and who knows where your career is going to go after that experience, you know what I mean? So we wanted to welcome you here. Step right up on stage. You know, you got to get your close-up, guys. That's it. There they are, student interns. And let's give them a round of applause. These are dedicated students, the future of our industry. We want to support them and want to thank everybody in our community who has helped our mentees. Thank you for paying it forward. Not that we're that old. But very energizing, to see these young people and to venture into the broadcast industry. And of course, as we mentioned, we're not that old, but we do remember another great Buffalo booster. Of course, that was Buffalo Bob Smith. And Jack, maybe you can get us started with this, and as Kenny plays that classic tune.
Hey kids, what time is it?
We can do it. We have to bring Tom McRae back up.
Pretty enthusiastic.
Yeah.
That was a great idea.
Yeah.
Tom worked. Buffalo Bob, maybe not so much, right? Okay.
Big
Sorry.
peanut gallery, though.
It's a good peanut gallery, is right. Anyway, Buffalo Bob Smith, an outstanding example of an individual who started his career in the Buffalo market, went on to great fame on a national level, and tonight's honoree is no exception. A true trailblazer. This individual helped shatter the glass ceiling for women in the broadcast industry. And we thank board members Jim Safe, Steve Reska, and BBA President Heidi Raphael for putting this video together for Susan Hunt.
Susan Hunt spent much of her career traveling the globe as a host, producer, and director. Working for more than half a dozen major networks, Susan gives life to a body of sports, travel, science, medical, and lifestyle programming. She broke ground for women, including being the first female to report from NFL and NHL locker rooms. Susan was the first woman to do play-by-play for women's tennis and the first female voice of ABC Wide World of Sports. She created and hosted the first women's sports programs, LPGA Magazine on ESPN, and years later co-hosted Golf Chicks Radio on Sirius XM. But her media career began in Buffalo radio, in sales at WGR, and traffic at WYSL. She started on the air as a morning news anchor at WFXZ-FM before returning to WGR-AM as news co-anchor and sports reporter. WGRZ-TV noticed and hired her as a feature reporter and anchor during Sabres telecasts. She is perhaps best remembered, though, by Western New York audiences as co-host of PM Magazine.
Susan and I met on PM Magazine. I was an intern there, and then my first position I got was as a production assistant for PM Magazine. Susan would do any job that you asked her to do. Susan would go out and climb a tree. She jumped out of an airplane, which I thought was pretty amazing. And we did everything and anything. And we worked like 16-hour days together, and it was the best part of our lives.
She was also Sandy Beach's morning news anchor on WHTT-FM.
And I had seen Susan. I didn't know her, but I had seen her on PM Magazine. I thought she was fabulous. She's one of those charismatic personalities that just jumps out of the TV set. I knew we had to have her for the morning show. We thought we'd have a little fun and have an ugly bride contest where people sent in every week the picture of the ugliest bride in the Buffalo News. Well, we thought we'd go the extra mile and check out to see how thorough the Buffalo News was. So we decided to make me a bride. And Susan was a big part of that. Susan brought in the gown that I wore. She brought in the tiara that I wore, and she did my makeup. She made me into a bride. And let me tell you something, I've never felt prettier. Working with Susan Hunt, I guess it's like being a member of the bomb squad. You never know if you're going to come home at the end of the day. Because it wasn't scripted and we didn't really know where we were going to go, occasionally you knew if you hit a nerve, oh, this was going to be golden, because she was going to come back at you full tilt boogie.
After making the move to network television, Susan's national career took off with the Fox network series Beyond Tomorrow. This led to her association with the Discovery Channel as host of many travel shows. Susan also fronted the international travel channel series Tennis World. Susan has enjoyed a 20-year relationship with the Los Angeles-based reality television production company Pie Town Productions.
We've known Susan Hunt for as long as we've had Pie Town, which is 21 years. Actually, she was the talent on our first television show, and she was already a part of the show, and we were auditioning for her. And luckily, she chose us and made the right decision. And 21 years later, we're very thankful for that, and the rest is history. We're very proud of Susan for being inducted into the Buffalo Hall of Fame. If there's anybody that deserves it, it's Susan Hunt.
In front of the camera or behind it, whether it's lifestyle or sports programming, Susan continues to deliver a strong sense of what's next with authenticity and passion.
Congratulations, Susan. Here's a challenge. I'm going to be on the air tomorrow morning at 9. I want you to come in to WBEN. We'll let you right in without any kind of security clearance. And I'd like you to sit in with me and see how tough you are. You used to be good. Let's see if you're still good.
The Buffalo Broadcasters Association is proud to induct Susan Hunt into the 2016 class of the Hall of Fame.
I've always wanted to hold a Stanley Cup. That's pretty good. Someday, maybe. Thank you all very, very much. That was really strange to look at, I have to tell you. Wow, time flies when you're having a good time. Thank you all very, very much. This is actually a place I never thought I would see myself. And so when I got the call from Steve Reska back, I believe at the beginning of May, I honestly thought he was calling me to say, you know, isn't it about time for you to join? Could you just give us your membership check? I really thought it was, and then when he told me, I went, oh my goodness. Well, I got to tell you, you got to check every year going forward. And you also have a storage bin. I don't want to tell you, in Palm Springs, I have a storage bin that's rather large, and half of it, well, it's stuff I should have thrown out years ago. The other half are all the original PM Magazine tapes. There are transcripts and tapes with Sandy Beach. When I went there and I looked at it, it really shook me up. I realized just how long I'd been in this business, and more importantly, the memories I have of Buffalo. Buffalo is right here. It always has been. It always will be. I mentioned PM Magazine. Those are truly the golden years for me. I think I learned more about presentation, television, people, the story, doing that show. It was well ahead of its time, and maybe not. We launched around the same time that Entertainment Tonight did. So it was the beginning of infotainment, if you will. And it was sort of the wild, wild west. We didn't know what we were doing. We just said, we're going to show you Western New York. And we did it. And I think we did it really well. We drove around town in an old white van. Marcy's nodding. Susie, are you nodding too? And we all fought to see who could get in that front seat. I never won. It was always Jeff. So there was always, I hate you so much. Because it had a terrible exhaust system. I don't know why we didn't die from that. But we had fun. Oh my God, I just realized the master is here in front of me. Well, then let's stay on radio for a moment. Sandy, I didn't know you were in the audience. I had no idea you were the ugliest bride that God created. God bless you, and I accept your invitation for tomorrow morning. We'll see who's got the better of it. Sports was probably what everyone thought I should go in. I did go in it. I enjoyed a lot of great moments covering sports stories, working with some greats. I mean, you can imagine a little girl from Buffalo, a nervous wreck, being told she was going to be the first woman ever to anchor a play-by-play on the U.S. Open. And I said, who will I be working with? And they said, Billie Jean King. Okay, I probably threw up on myself that morning. I won't lie. I was the first woman in an NFL locker room. You may not know that. I was in radio, and I was reporting for the RKO radio network then. No, I'm sorry, Westwood One. Memory fails, age. And I remember walking in, and they said, okay, you can go in and do your interview. It was right after a Bills game. And I walked in, and there was Joe Ferguson and a few others standing there. Nothing. You got nothing. And I know it was to intimidate me, and I didn't know what to do. So, back then, you didn't want to shake anything up, so I just took the microphone, and I kept looking at him like this. And then I looked like that, and I looked back. Nothing to brag about, Joe. Nothing. I remember. I am now directing in the House Hunters family, if you will. I spend most of my days in tiny houses, 150 square feet or less on wheels, and I'm having the time of my life. I wish I had discovered directing 20 years ago. It's really fun, and it's where it's happening. It is funny. I was a scared little girl when I started out in this business. Some things don't change. I'm still a scared little girl at times. But I do know this, that I have been very blessed to have very important people in my life, a cast in this auditorium that I have so appreciated. You have always been very important to me because I stand on your shoulders, and that is just so important. I mean, I know where my foundation is. Thank you, folks. Just know that I usually sign off when I leave shows, and I thank the cast. I always say, thank you so much for helping to make this show special. I say that to you. Thank you for making my life and my career special. It means a great deal. If there's ever anything I can do for any of you, I am a cell phone away, and I retain the 716 area code. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Kenny, this fall weather's so invigorating. It is, isn't it?
It certainly is, but...
So what a segue, from PM Magazine to this. And you know what? Our next honoree had a brush with greatness in Hollywood. With that, we're talking about Johnny, Ed, and Doc.
Yeah, it's true. He actually almost became a writer on the Tonight Show.
Yeah. Amazing. And I know he talked a little bit about that with Phil Arno on our station a little while ago. So as we've talked about this journey with our Hall of Fame, it is now time for tonight's recipient of the Hall of Fame TV Award. It's longtime WBBZ-TV meteorologist who also spent a few years over at Channel 2 and is now working at WKBW-TV at 7 Eyewitness News. We want to thank Jackie Walker and Rich Ursing at Channel 4 for putting this presentation together.
Don Paul signed off from WIBB-TV News 4 on March 23, 2016, surrounded by coworkers, colleagues, and family members who wanted to share this special moment. This would end his 30-year career at Channel 4.
When I came here, I figured, well, I have a 4-year contract. We'll stay 4 years and then maybe try to get back to a major market. Never crossed my mind again.
It was the right decision.
Yeah, like
as
so
you
many
said.
other people who have come here.
But there was so much more along the way, including a 3-year stint as chief meteorologist at WGRZ Channel 2 from 1988 to 91.
Here's our storm all wrapped up, the cold front which produced all the severe weather last night.
Don first became fascinated by the weather as a child, living in a New Jersey apartment that had no view.
The only way I could tell how hard it was snowing without bothering neighbors was to look out a window to the top floor, the 5th floor, where Mrs. Trevisano often left her kitchen light on. And I could see the silhouette of the snowflakes going past that shade.
Don maintained that fascination as he grew up and graduated from ROTC training before serving a tour of duty in the Army during the Vietnam era.
They kept me at Fort Benning the whole time, where you run around like crazy, but it's better than having live rounds coming at you.
Armed with a degree in meteorology from Rutgers, Don's first television jobs were in Bangor, Maine and Wichita, Kansas.
So you'll have to cuddle up tonight. It is a cold night.
Wichita, Kansas, Tornado Alley. And if I knew how little I knew, I might not have had the guts to take that job.
After Wichita came Tampa and his remarkable pairing with anchor Bob Coop, the same Bob Coop who would later become his longtime anchor partner here in Buffalo.
Right up to here, I might add. Now, somewhere out there in our vast audience, there has got to be at least one lucky soul who has come down here this week. And
It was on to Detroit next to become weekend meteorologist and a science reporter.
These brave merchants are continuing their lonely vigil, waiting for 43.3 more inches of snow.
But after 5 years in Detroit, Don decided to leave the Motor City for our much smaller Queen City.
Why would you go from a major top 10 to a medium market? Well, I wanted a #1 gig, and it was definitely the right decision.
You bet it was, for all of us. Don has flourished during his decades at News 4 to become widely considered the dean of local TV meteorologists, highly respected across the industry.
I think a lot of people here in Western New York would appreciate knowing that Don's reach in meteorology exists well outside of Western New York. I mean, I knew of him prior to coming here, and it was part of the reason that I actually wanted to join the team.
Don has maintained his education through the American Meteorological Society for more than 30 years, and his scientific achievements have been recognized by the Western New York Science Congress. Don has been lucky enough all these years to do exactly what he dreamed of doing, as that child craning his neck up toward Mrs. Trevisano's window.
I hoped to do what I'm doing now, to become a steady, long-lasting, on-air weeknight meteorologist, where I could teach a little, have some fun a little.
No one works harder or gets around faster than the WIVB.com weather bug. Just ask Don.
And haven't we had fun? Several times, Art Voice readers have voted Don as Buffalo's best TV personality. And remember, on beloved sports director Van Miller's last night here at News 4, he couldn't resist taking a good-natured parting shot at Don for often running too long in weather and cutting into time for sports.
He stole my time night after night after night, day after day after day, week after week, year after year, you know, with a potpourri of non-essential weather information.
So watch out for black ice on bridges and overpasses later tonight.
When Don left News 4, greetings came in from across the country to thank him and wish him well.
Congratulations, Don. What a great career. What a great career in Buffalo. I mean, you are truly an icon. Not only a great meteorologist, but your sense of humor, very unique. So I want to wish you all the best for your future. And I know everybody in Buffalo thanks you for a job well done.
Hey, Don, here's to a happy retirement. You're a fantastic meteorologist and an even better communicator. I wish you many sunny days, and let's throw in an occasional thunderstorm and maybe even a lake effect snow squall from time to time. Take care and enjoy that retirement.
While Don retired from Channel 4, he has opened a new chapter in his broadcast career, working a relaxed part-time at WKBW Channel 7. performing the hat trick of lending his skills to all 3 major affiliated Buffalo television stations. Now, as we celebrate his Hall of Fame career, here are 3 things Don wants us to remember about him.
Someone with passion for his work, someone who did good work, and someone who was a reasonably nice person. And funny at times when appropriate. That's 4 things, but I always run over.
Congratulations to Don Paul on your induction into the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
And there's only one way to introduce Don Paul. Here's Donnie.
Well, I'll bet you thought you were through with the P's after Don Postles, but then someone looked and said, "Oh no!" The first thing we have to acknowledge is you saw how much younger I looked when all the hair was there, fewer pounds were there. So we acknowledge my age, and just to give you some perspective on it, I was born in a log cabin in Jersey City during the Truman administration. And during that time, as a college radio guy, I never took a broadcast course, but I stayed with WRSU Radio the whole 4 years. Mr. Meteorologist was news director in his senior year. I interviewed Barry Goldwater, Jerry Ford, who had no idea he'd go on to be president. And anyone remember Everett Dirksen? I think he was the Republican Senate minority leader. But after I graduated college, I just didn't think broadcast meteorology was a realistic way to make a living. It seemed too exotic because I grew up next to New York, #1 market. I wasn't ready to move away. But I had midlife crisis in my late 20s, desperate to get into TV. I followed my desperation to WVII in Bangor, Maine, which was the flagship of WVII in Bangor, Maine. This station, within the 3 months I was there, got into such financial trouble that the newspaper canceled the subscription. We ran out of paper towels. I had a map on the wall with these water markers for the fronts, and I had to use wet toilet paper to wash the map off between the 6 and the 11. One night the owner came in and I said, "This is the greatest answer I ever got in broadcasting." I said, "What kind of station is this where the weather guy has to use wet toilet paper to clean the maps?" And he said, "That's the kind of station this is." So fortunately, I had one tape I could send out, and that was to Cake TV in Wichita. Wichita was the 54th market. Bangor at the time was 146, and Wichita was a dominant station in the market. And I got there, and they had a 50-something share at 10 o'clock. And within a few weeks, everyone knew who I was. And I did not know, as we saw there, just how little I knew. What saved me was a friend who was in his first TV job, and he was having trouble with the TV end, but he had been an instructor in meteorology at the University of Michigan. I coached him on how to smile on camera and be a personality, and he coached me on how to be a meteorologist. And he's no longer with us. He's younger than me, but he passed early, but I owe a lot to him. His name was Gary Shore. And I was in Wichita a year. Salary was terrible, wonderful station. WFLA in Tampa somehow got a hold of me, and that's where I worked with Bob, and I was there about 8 or 9 months, and one day I came in and he was gone. He'd talked to the St. Petersburg Times, and in an interview told them exactly what he thought of WFLA, and we never saw him again. Just whoosh. Then I came here, and the first 4 years went swimmingly until the last week. And Jackie and Chris Musial, who's not here tonight, we were all. Chris was the 11 o'clock producer, and I thought I was going to come in and sign the contract the next morning. I was filling in for the noon, and there had been some stumbling that last week, and all of a sudden the news director came in and told me I had 30 minutes to get out. And that's what enabled me to run over to Channel 2. There was a non-compete lawsuit, and the judge rewrote the clause, so I had 3 pleasant years at Channel 2. By the way, Channel 2, before I left, the owner went into Chapter 11. Is that a coincidence? I think not. And then I came over to Channel 4 again in 1991 and stayed until March 23rd. Of course, my dear friends are still with me. Jackie and I remain close. Rich Newberg! And you know the Newberg parka shows up as a separate entity in Magid focus groups? and working with the other DP, the only other person to pull the hat trick in the market, DP, Don Postles, and Carol Jason and the late Bob Coop, and Uncle Van, who continued to call me for years with jokes. I had a grammatical thing with further versus farther, and the voicemails go, "Hey, Donnie, this is 6-time Hall of Fame winner Van Miller, and you're killing me with this further versus farther." And then he'd give me the rules. So I was able to salvage those. So I want to have us all remember him once again, as I'm sure you did last year, Uncle Van. So it has been a pleasure, and I'm sure in honor of my former producer who gave the longest acceptance speech in the history of the broadcast pioneers, he's not here tonight, Vic Baker, I'm sure I've run over again in your memory, Van. Thank you.
All right, we're going to give a round of applause to the outstanding Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame class of 2016 who you met here tonight. We want to thank all of you for joining us, participating in this historic event. Thank you to WNED-TV. Jack, you have some more.
Yes, thanks for supporting sponsors Bobby Gatz with 3G Graphics Printing and Sign, Steve Monaco from Buffalo's Best Flowers, formerly Shelley's Florist, WNED, Dennis DiPaolo, and the incredible staff here at Ilio DiPaolo's.
We had a great time tonight. Thank you to the Buffalo Dolls that were here, Donna, Rusty, Debbie, our student presenter, Nyasha, and thank you to the golden voice of Jack Horoho and Kenny Kaufman. And Ilio's Piano, thank you very much for that great award. Good night, and we'll see you at next year's gala, everybody.